Today we'll be having a look at the Adidas Adistar 2.0 here in our lab. We'll be cutting the shoe in half and testing it on over 30 metrics to see exactly what it's made of. The Adistar 2.0 is a neutral daily trainer on steroids. We could easily mistake it for a stability shoe if we wore it with our eyes closed. It's got a well-cushioned, wide and supportive platform, which in our opinion works best for those easy recovery days. If we look past its disturbingly heavy setup, we could recommend the Adistar 2.0 as a solid daily running option. We recommend this workhorse from Adidas for runners who are looking for a max cushion shoe that's good for those long and easy miles, a neutral shoe that's got a hint of stability features for those mild pronators among you, or a design that's just stylish and comfortable for those casual days, or a daily trainer that just doesn't break the bank. Onto what makes the shoe not so great. The Adistar 2.0 is very heavy, even for a max cushion shoe. Coming in at 328 grams or 11.6 ounces, you can easily find a shoe with a similar stack height that's 100 grams lighter or more. For example, sticking to Adidas, we've got the Adizero SL, which is speed oriented at only 244 grams or 8.6 ounces, or the Puma Velocity Nitro 2, which is 9.1 ounces, 257 grams. Also, the secondary foam back here at the heel is much stiffer compared to the one at the forefoot. So if you're a heel striker, you might prefer a more plush foam underfoot. So you might want to try the Adidas Ultra Boost Light instead. We pump smoke through the shoe's upper to assess how breathable the material is. And the Adistar 2.0 is a pleasant surprise. We rated the shoe a 5 out of 5 for breathability, as it is one of the most well-ventilated running shoes we've tested. The Adistar 2.0 literally shines in breathability. You can see how transparent the upper is when we shine a light through the cross-section. When we look at the shoe's large mesh pores through our microscope, it becomes clear why the Adistar is so airy. Onto our battery of durability tests. Let's start with the outsole. So we measured the outsole rubber to be 3.4 millimeters, which is moderately thick, sitting right around the average measurement for most running shoes. The shoe's continental rubber is also not among the hardest we've seen. It's just average. Based on these two measurements, we expect a regular 400 to 500 mile shelf life from the Adistar 2.0. Onto the durability of the toe box. That isn't as promising. We tested it with our Dremel and it absolutely shredded through it without any difficulty. We would recommend avoiding any heavily wooded areas in these shoes, as one snag from a branch might mean the end of your toe box. It is a heavy shoe. At 328 grams or 11.6 ounces, the Adistar is a real monster. Even if we only consider shoes with a similar heel stack of 33 to 35 millimeters, the average weight would only be 10.2 ounces or 290 grams. So while heavy shoes are fine for going slow, you can absolutely forget about picking up the pace in the Adistar 2.0. According to Adidas, the heel stack is 33 millimeters. This is very close to what our caliper measurements show, which is 33.8 millimeters. You definitely want this amount of cushioning for long weekend runs of 10 kilometers or more. Now we know just by looking at it, the heel looks much larger than 33 millimeters. But the trick is, the foot actually sits within the foam rather than just on top of it. Measuring the stack at the forefoot, we found it a little bit thinner than officially stated by the brand, 25.8 millimeters as opposed to the official 27 millimeters. Sure, this doesn't make the shoe feel any less cushioned, but it does affect the heel to toe drop, which we'll be discussing next. Contrary to the brand statement, the shoe's drop is not 6 millimeters. Based on our caliper measurements, the heel drop is exactly 8 millimeters. However, this is a nuance that we believe only experienced runners will even notice. And in any case, a typical drop height for daily trainers is about 8.5 millimeters, so this feels right at home for most runners. Among the most notable things about the Adistar 2.0 is the dual density foam. Seems like Adidas just came up with a semi-stability shoe. Just like the first Adistar, the 2.0 employs the same Repetitor Plus foam, which has a firmer component in the heel than the softer Repetitor foam in the forefoot. This foam in the forefoot is somewhat soft, not too plush. When we pressed our durometer against it, we got a reading of 22.4 HA, which is about 10% softer than road running shoes on average. This makes it a rather comfy ride with smooth heel-to-toe transitions. At the heel, this blue foam is much stiffer. Based on our durometer measurements, it scored 31.6 HA, which makes it 41% firmer than this midsole up here in the front. From our experience running in the Adistar 2.0, the landings feel really stable, almost as if we were running in a stability shoe. But to our great disappointment, these same landings feel pretty hard, especially for heel strikers. So if you're after a more plush ride, you should check out the New Balance FF More version 4, the Brooks Glycerin 20, or maybe even the Brooks Glycerin 20 GTS if you actually like or need a stability shoe. We also checked how the shoe's primary foam reacts to cold temperatures. Turns out it does get a little firmer, but not that much more than other foams do. After 20 minutes of putting it in the freezer, the durometer shows a measurement of 28.3 HA. This is a little softer than average. So if you happen to leave your Adistar 2.0 outside overnight, don't worry, you won't be waking up to a brick to run in. So using these two measurements, one at room temperature and one after 20 minutes in the freezer, we found that the Adistar gets 26.3% firmer in the cold. This is right around the average range for most running shoes. The Adistar 2.0 feels incredibly stable underfoot. In terms of torsional rigidity, we were barely able to twist the Adistars. On a stiffness scale of 1 to 5, we gave it a 4. You mostly find this kind of torsional stiffness in stability shoes that have medial posts and shanks. The heel counter is also a bit of a beast. In our manual assessment, we rated its stiffness a 4 out of 5. Such a rigid heel counter holds our ankles firmly in place, and the extension of the firm foam in the back definitely helped with support. Onto the width of the midsole, and the landing surface on the Adistar is huge. This is one major contributor to the shoe's stable feeling underfoot. We measured it at its widest part in the forefoot to be 118.1 millimeters, which at the time of testing is wider than 92% of our lab tested shoes. Even among stability shoes, only the Hoka Gaviota 4 can beat out this Adidas shoe in terms of width of platform. Down to the heel, the Adistar keeps on breaking records back there. At 96.1 millimeters wide, this platform is significantly wider than average. We can see a great benefit here for runners with mild overpronations who don't want to necessarily get a stability shoe. Now, for a shoe with such a mighty midsole, we were surprised to see that the Adistar 2.0 bends so easily compared to the average running shoe. It only requires a force of 23.4 newtons to bend the shoe to a 90-degree angle, which is much less than the average shoe. Now keep in mind, all shoes get firmer in the cold. Our force gauge measurement after leaving the Adistar 2.0 in the freezer for 20 minutes went up from 23.4 newtons to bend the shoe to 35.6 newtons. Luckily, this isn't as stiff as a lot of other shoes get. It really doesn't turn into a brick for sure. This difference between warm and cold measurements means that the Adistar 2.0 is 52.1% stiffer after the freezer test. You should expect it to feel a little stiffer when you take it out on cold runs. The Adistar 2.0 comes with a medium-sized toe box, which we believe will accommodate almost all foot shapes except for people with extremely wide feet. Based on our measurements of the toe box at its widest part, it is 98.3 millimeters, which is just about average for a running shoe. However, it gets a little more interesting at the big toe. We found that it measures 79.9 millimeters in this part of the toe box, which is noticeably wider than the average. As a result, the shoe's toe box is less pointy and feels much more accommodating to our feet. Onto the tongue, it's not gusseted, but measures at 8.7 millimeters. This is notably thick for a road running shoe. You can see there's nearly as much padding here in the tongue as there is back here at the heel counter. That's it for our lab review today. As we've seen, the Adistar 2.0 is a pretty solid option as a daily trainer. It's certainly stylish and eye-catching, and if you can forgive its weight, it'll do you good for 400 to 500 miles unless you rip the toe box open before then. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out the description where you'll find links to all the shoes that we mentioned in this review, including the Adistar 2.0. Don't forget to tune in to our next lab review. Till then, we gotta run.